Welcome to One Synth Only, where I make a piece of music using just one synthesizer to create all the parts. Today's synth will be Roland JD800. The Roland JD800 is a digital synthesizer that was manufactured between 1991 and 1996. It employs what Roland would call linear arithmetic synthesis, which was introduced and made famous by their earlier Roland D50. At the time, the trend was for synthesizers to be very menu-driven, with very few controls on the front panel. The JD800 was a departure from that, with lots of knobs and sliders for real-time control. It both looked and felt a bit more like a good old analog synthesizer. The idea was not to present a box of preset real-world sounds, but rather to go back to what synthesis was originally meant to be. The JD800 ranks as my personal all-time favorite synthesizer. I've used the early Junos, the DX7, and various other synthesizers, but for me the JD800 takes the cake. Now traditionally, synthesizers use an analog or digitally controlled oscillator as the basis for their sound, but I believe that the JD's employment of simple PCM samples works really well. I guess you could say it's a D50 on steroids. As I said before, the JD800 is not designed to emulate pianos, organs, guitars, and the instruments of the orchestra. Keyboards that do that we refer to as romplers, samples stored in ROM. Remember that even though the JD800 uses digital samples as basic waveforms, it is important to differentiate between romplers and synthesizers that employ PCM samples as the core waveforms for creating more complex sounds. There's a big difference. The JD's rhythm part, for example, does not employ standard drum sounds. And even though it has a very acceptable piano sound, for example, I would say the JD800 excels at warm, rich pads and synthesizer lead and bass sounds. The Roland JD800 is my favorite. I've owned one since 1991. That's 30 years, and I just never get tired of it.